Hello everyone, this is Quilo and welcome to another music production video. Today I'm going to show you 5 simple ways you can create more interesting drum patterns. The kick and the snare are the foundation for pretty much any drum pattern we're going to find in commercial music. So I've set up a 1 bar in 4/4 time signature and we're going to do a simple kick and snare pattern. So kick on beats 1 and 3 and snare on beats 2 and 4. So this is it. So I've got my grid set to 16th notes. And as you can see, between the kick and the snare, we have 3 possible choices to input notes. I'm going to just loop 2 beats. So we're going to put kick notes between each one of these spaces. So let's go with the first and see how that sounds. Perfect. Let's go with the middle one. And if we keep sliding the kick around, we're going to get different characters from each of these places. Let's see what happens if we do it after the snare. Okay, so that's an easy way to get like different characters with just adding a single note. Now we can also combine that with, like, for example, more amounts of notes. Let's go with this one. Now let's add a little syncopation to our kick. For this, we're going to need the whole 4 beats. So syncopation is when you emphasize a weak beat instead of a strong beat. In a 4/4 bar, the strong beats are beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And anything in between that is going to be a weak beat. So with the second kick, instead of hitting it here, we're going to put it back a little bit to see how that changes the mood of the pattern. So that gives it a little extra bounce. Now this part feels kind of empty. So let's add another one here to compensate and see how that feels. Okay, and how about moving it back a little bit as well? That's perfect. Let's try this one. So just by doing some tiny differences, we get like totally different drum patterns. The feel is completely different. And we can also do like fill in the empty spaces if we don't want it to be so empty in the middle. So that's one way of using syncopation with your kicks. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take away the snare. So that's going to create a little bit of tension and anticipation for what's about to come. So this is how it sounds with the snare. And now we're going to take it off. Now we're going to pull it back in. So you can use that technique of just eliminating the snare for a couple of bars to create some variety in your drum patterns, as well as creating this moment where we feel a tension growing and anticipation for what's about to come. It's a very simple but effective technique. Let's try doing the syncopation on the snare. So let's move this to over here and see what happens. Okay, cool. What about here? Okay. Okay, so that's starting to sound a little empty. So how about this? Okay, that's pretty cool. What about this one? Let's see, something here. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the snare. Just move it a little bit off the strong beat, either behind or after it, to create a little variation on it. Now this final example is the flam, which means putting another note behind the strong beat. So for example, with the snare, we can do this, kind of like a build up to the strong beat, and it sounds like this. So you can use one note or two notes. It just makes it a little bit more interesting. So you don't want to overdo it and do it on every single snare hit, but sometimes that creates like a little variety and interest to keep things entertaining. So using those simple techniques, you can transform something like this into this. So we're using notes in the 16th notes in between the strong beats. We've got a syncopated kick slightly behind the third beat, and we've got our flam on the snare. So those are 5 simple techniques you can start using in your drum patterns. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Was this helpful? Did you enjoy this video? If so, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. See you guys in the next one.